Hello everybody, I'm Hater, also known as HaterTheOne, and welcome back to another Destiny video. And in this one, I'm going to teach you guys how damage properly works in Destiny 2. We're going to go over the different kinds of buffs, debuffs, how to calculate those buffs and debuffs, and use them in examples so we can avoid a term called the stacking rule. For all the percentages used in this video, we're going to be using a spreadsheet called Quartz Comprehensive Destiny 2 Data and Information Spreadsheets. This will be in the description. If there's anything you are interested in checking out from that is used in this video, go down into the description and click on the link to the spreadsheet. It'll take you over to it and it's very easy to follow. You just have to click the links and scroll through until you find what you're looking for. But in Destiny 2, there are 4 different categories of buffs and debuffs that will allow you to do more damage, and everything has to follow a simple rule called the stacking rule, meaning you can't stack certain things with certain things or they're going to get overlapped and you're not going to do more damage. A very obvious example of this happening is whenever you stack Bubble with Well of Radiance. Well of Radiance adds 25% more damage to whatever you are shooting. But when you lay a Ward of Dawn and get Weapons of Light, that's going to be a 35% damage increase to whatever you are shooting for 15 seconds. Naturally, you would think you would gain both the 25% and the 35% at the same time. Due to them being in the same category though, the highest percentage is always going to take over the lower percentages. So instead of it being a total 60% increase, it's only going to be the 35 from Bubble. And that is going to be the biggest rule of thumb that we have to follow in Destiny 2. If 2 damage buffs are from the same category, the highest damage percentage from it are always going to be given priority over the rest, overlapping them. But now with the basic understanding of what the stacking rule is, let's talk about the 4 categories that all damage percentages fall into. Those being global debuffs, empowering buffs, modifiers, and outliers. Anything that increases damage in Destiny 2 is going to fall into one of those 4 categories. And we're going to go over each one individually, starting off with global debuffs. As it says in the name, it is a global debuff, meaning it is usually something that debuffs the boss or whatever you are fighting. Prime examples of this would be the Divinity and the very popular Particle Deconstruction. Both, when you hit a boss or an enemy with them, it's going to cause the boss or enemy to be debuffed, allowing your fire team and you included to deal more damage. This category also follows the stacking rule, meaning the highest percentage will always take priority. So if you're trying to use something like Divinity with Tractor Cannon, it's not going to work. One of them is going to take over the other. The next category is going to be empowering buffs, and also, as the name implies, it's something that empowers you. This is where your Well of Radiance and your Bubble is going to coincide. But another example of empowering buffs would be the Charge with Light mods, Loosen Blade, Argent Ordnance, Surprise Attack, and High Energy Fire. All 4 of those mods are going to be overridden by the Bubble and the Well of Radiance modifiers. So that's why you hear often, don't use high energy fire when you're going to deal damage to a boss. Now we're going to move into modifiers, which are completely different from global debuffs and empowering buffs, mainly because they are excluded from the stacking rule, meaning you can use these whenever they are applicable. This is the category where you're pretty much going to find your perks like Rampage, Frenzy, your exotic weapons and armors, all of your mods, and the activity and world modifiers. Then the category of outliers also fits within this because they are basically the same thing. There are just certain things that don't fit modifiers that enter outliers. Usually stuff that is a modifier that doesn't follow the rule of empowering buffs and global debuffs fit in outliers. Examples of this would be Font of Might and the newly reworked Lucky Pants, just to name a few. And that's basically going to cover the 4 categories of damage buffs that we have in Destiny 2. So let's actually start using them in examples to calculate the potential that certain things have with certain things. And believe it or not, it is not as simple as just adding all the percentages up. I made that mistake in my last video when I was talking about Hothead and Ascendancy for Witch Queen, because the way damage is calculated in Destiny 2 is that it is all stacked together multiplicatively, meaning all damage is calculated at the exact same time. An easier way to explain this is to actually go back and talk about my Hothead and Ascendancy video, because I was using 5 different buffs in that video at once. And what I did was add it all up additively. Let's actually take a look at how it all stacks up multiplicatively. And the first thing to note is the actual equation that we're going to use to calculate this, where whatever we are using to calculate the damage is going to be a base number of 1 or 1.00, equaling 100%, which is the base damage in Destiny 2. So for the Ascendancy, we're going to be using 73,107 as the base number, or 1.00. Then after that, we're going to be multiplying that by the other percentages that are going to be added in the equation. First of which would be a global debuff. That is Divinity. And Divinity has a 30% damage increase to whatever we are shooting with its bubble. So when we go back to the equation, we're going to multiply 1.00 to 1.30. But we're not done yet. We're not going to hit enter on the calculator because we're going to keep adding more until we're done adding buffs. So next would be a empowering buff, which is Bubble, and Bubble gives a 35% damage increase to whatever we are shooting. Now we would add that 35% to the equation, so at the end of it we would add times 1.35, or 1.00 times 1.30 times 1.35. Now we're going to add the weapon perk Explosive Light to the equation. And Explosive Light adds 25% more damage per rocket we shoot when we have the perk Explosive Light active. So at the end of the equation, we're going to add 1.25 to it, making it look like 1.00 times 1.30 times 1.35 times 1.25. Then we're going to add 2 more mods to the equation. First being Font of Might, which gives you another 25% more damage when you pick up a well that matches your subclass type. So we would add 1.25 at the end of the already long equation, making it look like 1.00 times 1.30 times 1.35 times 1.25 times 1.25. And finally, we're going to add Boss Spec to the equation, which adds another 7.77% more damage to bosses. So we would add 1.0777 to the end of the equation, making it look like 1.00 times 1.30 times 1.35 times 1.25 times 1.25 times 1.0777. And when we hit enter on the calculator, it's going to be our total percentage bonus multiplicatively. And in this case, for the Ascendancy and Hothead rocket launcher build, it's going to be 2.955. But we're just going to round up at the last 5, making it 2.96, making all these buffs together a 196% damage increase multiplicatively. And that is going to be the calculation you're going to be making with literally every damage modifier and buff in Destiny 2. A rule of thumb is always take 1.00, which is your base weapon, and then add whatever buffs you have with it. Everything is always going to be 1 point something. So if it's a 100% damage increase on a mod, then it would be 2.00 in the equation. But that's going to be it from me today, guys. If you enjoyed the video and this really helped you out, then give the video a like, leave a comment down in the comment section, anything you want to see me cover in the future. And if you really enjoyed my content, then go and subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. Also go support me over my Twitch, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.